Now, actually, I want to make this very clear because actually, thinking back to what I said in my last video, I don't want people to think that I'm going to sit here and beat up on theists in terms of the idea that if you follow God and you follow a path of purity, you're wrong. No. But if you use that path, if you use those ideals of purity, social morality, or even religious morality, then that can lead to unintended, and I would like to think to a major degree, Hobson's consequences of what he's saying are mostly unintentional. I don't think he realizes enough about the broader picture because of just what it seems like in seeing the interview. Again, link will be, just like with the last video, will be down in the underbar to him talking about his influences for the song God and Eminem. Um, and that's where I have an issue when that's at least maybe a major influence towards your ideals towards women and how they dress. Because part of this gets into, again, that idea that, oh, if you dress a certain way, well, you deserve what you get. And I'm sorry, that's not how the world works. Because then that becomes an excuse to say, well, this woman dressed like this way, she must obviously have wanted it, therefore, she was not raped, and we're not going to award her any help if she decides to keep her baby, and so on and so forth. Trust me, we'll get to those talking points in his lyrics here. And that's incredibly destructive. It's not correct. It's not in line with with human sex and sexuality. And again, maybe Hopkins views it as his chosen religion does, which, depending on the denomination, depending on its origins and so on and so forth, can be either partially sex positive or not sex positive at all. In which case, it makes everybody look bad. You may think, well, through repression, through trying to keep sexuality in a nice, neat little box, we keep it away from kids. We keep it away from deviancy and all these other things, but you don't realize how restrictive the box is, and how, as talked about in my video series about the benefits of sex and sexuality, how beneficial it is to the body, how beneficial it can be to the mind, how beneficial it can be to one's lifespan. And we want to restrict that? Again, I'm not trying to say that I get the impression 100% that Hopsin, I'm sorry if I mispronounce your rapper name, it's not something I'm meaning to do. I'm dyslexic, so you'll have to forgive me for that. That he's, purposely trying to be this restrictive person. And I'm not saying that one cannot make some of these social commentaries about society. The problem is these social commentaries that he makes in this lyrics that I'm about to start reading again, are a skin deep look. And again, they are things that they are ideals that get held up in court of law at certain times and make it to where, oh, if a woman comes in claiming rape, well, if she was dressed provocatively, then the rapist is not guilty of raping her. Suddenly she has no legs with which to stand on because she's not considered a moral person. And sometimes her religion or lack thereof can be used against her as well. Oh, she's part of a immoral religion, or she's not part of religion at all, so she's immoral. Therefore, how can we trust that she was really raped? And again, false rape and false rape accusations are disgusting. They are damaging too, and they're something that have to be addressed in terms of balancing out rape legislation. But all of this stuff has to come from within. We can't expect the law to fix the holes in the system as much as we need to come together as a society and realize the harm we are doing to everybody with our prudish ideals. It's not bad to want to be pure. It's bad to want to force everybody else into your purity, especially if it does have negative health consequences, as talked about in the series. So let's continue. Twice a week you put on your makeup and damn bracelets and head to the club half naked with your ass shaking, pulling a lowlife, this is part of the lyrics, nigga who claim he cash making till you let him hit and find out he work at the gas station. See, again, this is this sort of ideal that if you're not dressed in some sort of formal gown, then you're dressing like a slut. You're dressing like a hoe. And therefore, if you dress like a slut and dress like a hoe, you're going to make poor moral decisions because how you dress somehow dictates your character. And even if she does dress like a slut, even if she acts like a slut, that doesn't mean that she deserves to get raped. And again, that doesn't automatically mean that she creates these situations automatically and automatically makes bad choices. Though, if I'm to take anything out of this, Hopsin seems to get the idea that if you dress bad in the first place, that's a bad decision. And it can only lead to further bad decisions, in which case I would say prove it. You know, sure, some things happen and there are unintended consequences, but this goes back to some degree of this, well, if she didn't want to be hollered at, she shouldn't have dressed like that. On some levels, you're absolutely right, but on other levels, she has no right to actually care about the people who holler at her or what they say. That if she dresses provocatively, that she can't then complain about rape threats? I'm sorry, no. That's disgusting. And that's almost in support of that, saying, well, if you dress a certain way, then you have no right to complain when you're threatened with rape, or when you're threatened to be raped in front of your family members, and on and on and on. In other words, to a degree, it's sort of in support of misogyny, and I can't stand behind that. And neither should an up-and-comer who does seem like he has an extremely good head on his shoulders. You know, some of the stuff, these lyrics to some degree notwithstanding, as Hopsin does. You know, I'm not trying to sit here and say, oh, I don't like Hopsin, I think Hopsin's a bad guy. No, I've watched his other videos, and I love his flow. I love his lyrics. I agree with the rap critic to a point. But when you're advocating for socially irresponsible ideals or the upholding thereof, I'm going to call you on it. One of them niggas got you pregnant and you can't raise it, but you caused it. Your actions made a fat statement. You want Romeo, then act patient. Now, I'm not saying that wanting to save yourself for marriage is entirely a bad thing, but I do believe that it generally tends to be something that is reckless. As reckless as just having sex all the time, although again, I don't tend to judge in that case if the people are doing it safely, consensually, and without the involvement or witness of children. What does it matter how many partners they've had? Now, if they're asking for undue exceptions, undue treatment because of their bad choices, then yeah, you've got a point there. But not a lot of these girls are. And if, for the sake of argument, you're one of these folk who, and I'm not sure if you are or not, who believe that this woman is, or that you're against abortion, then you're admitting she's not able physically, financially, mentally to care for this child, but yet are you going to then condemn her if she happens to have an abortion? Because, or what if she, I guess she could give it up for adoption, but at the same time, then show me these empty orphanages that are so in need of all these children that we're creating. Look, I'm not saying going to stand up here and defend a woman using things like abortion as a form of contraception. Obviously, I think it's disgusting. But since it's the exception, not the rule, I will stand for abortion because If I stand against it, I'm standing against the cases like the doctor in Kansas who lost his license. I read the follow-ups. Who lost his license because he gave a 10-year-old girl an abortion. She was also mentally ill, and she was carrying her uncle rapist's baby. Oh, let me guess. She was probably dressing slutty and asking for it, right, Hopsin? Okay, no, that's not fair. And I'm not going to say that that's what you're saying. But I'm saying that this is where that logic can lead. And I disagree with it. And again, especially in a case like that, this is not just socially irresponsible. It's medically irresponsible. So we'll continue the discussion on this. Hopefully this shouldn't go that much longer. But again, there's some points to be made here, absolutely. But it's the rest of it, the filler, that becomes a socially irresponsible and sexually negative and therefore very socially damaging ideal that he's promoting out there.